G'day everyone, welcome to the introductory episode of my brand new show, the Factual Faith podcast. This podcast is all about attempting to bring biblical ideas and themes down to earth and to justify them with logic and ideas that make sense to anyone who religious or not. To begin with, I've already recorded about 3 episodes. I am going to release this introductory episode along with the first episode of the show. The first couple of episodes have been certainly interesting to record as they've turned out better than I thought, but they all do contain some hiccups along the way. So please bear with me as I work towards bringing you higher quality content and I learn to become a better speaker and a better commentator. The way that this podcast is going to be structured is with very little structure. My hope is to, for most episodes, bring someone who is more equipped to talk about a topic than I am, and essentially just ask them a bunch of questions and form a whole bunch of conversations across a range of topics. Now, the reason why I have begun this podcast is, fair warning, I'm going to ramble here a little bit. So if you feel like you've gotten enough information out of this episode, you're welcome to jump into the first episode. But the reason why I wanted to start this podcast is because I've had quite a long journey when it comes to exploring Christian critical thinking. It started with when I first walked out of high school into, I guess most people would call it the real world. And all of a sudden I was met with university and I was met with meeting people outside of my high school life who weren't Christian and had really good justifications for the reasons why they weren't Christian. So my usual little talking points and common ways of convincing people of my faith, I guess, were not super effective. And I started to notice this more and more as I began to kind of graduate high school and work my way out of high school, as these common talking points and phrases and scripture verses that I used to quote to myself or other people just weren't really cutting the mustard in terms of providing a good explanation as to why I believe what I believe. Now, I knew within me that it made philosophical sense for me to believe in a God and specifically to believe in Jesus, but I was never really able to articulate those ideas. I had never had any training in articulating them or what it should look like to speak about Christ in an effective manner. And so it essentially became a hobby of mine. It became a hobby of mine to explore Christian critical thinking. And I quite easily used to clock somewhere in the realm of 2 to 3 hours a day of watching debates or watching commentators or listening to podcasts or anything. Even if I agreed or disagreed with the media, I would just absorb all of it and have a listen and adapt it all into my own way of thinking. And I went through many stages of many teachers and many churches, and I feel like only now, as I am climbing out of my 20s and soon to enter my 30s, where I'm currently at this point where I feel like I can actually articulate what I believe and cover a lot of really important topics. And so my goal with this podcast is to essentially create a platform where those conversations can be had for you and create a space where you don't have to go through what I had to go through, 10 years of exploration to get those conversations going. This podcast is, I actually should have said this at the top of the episode. This podcast, I'm going to stress, is not at all a tool where I am trying to convince you of what I believe. I do not want to make soldiers of my way of thinking. I do not want to create a whole bunch of people who solely reiterate what I say. This platform is purely for me to have conversations and for people to listen in and to decide for themselves what they believe, agree with, disagree with, what sounds good, what doesn't. I apologize, it's windy outside if that's coming through. I do not want this to be something that is a purely, you must believe what I believe. I am speaking wholeheartedly the truth about absolutely everything. I do believe in some core principles that are the truth. I do believe there is a God. I do believe that God is Jesus. And I do believe that the Bible is truthful. From there, any conversation that's had or anything that I say in this platform is purely meant to be for consideration. So if you're irreligious, it's for you to consider the concepts of religion and to consider the morals and I would say the benefits of religious thinking. And if you're maybe maybe more agnostic or a new Christian or something like that, these conversations are for you to take your current thoughts about and your current ideals about the world and to maybe give them a little bit of a push into a deeper realm of understanding. I would hate for this to become something where I build a group of militant thinkers who only simply regurgitate what I say. In fact, I would probably in future welcome people who wish to debate or argue against some of the ideas that I have, because it would only serve to help me better understand exactly why I believe what I believe, and then therefore communicate it better to those who wish to listen to me. So that's essentially why I'm here. I think I'll do an episode later on explaining in greater depth my journey with Christian critical thinking and the highs and the lows and all of it. But I'd say for now that's probably where I want to leave it. Otherwise, I feel like I will ramble for too long. I'm more than open to recommendations and criticisms. So please, if you know me personally or know someone who knows me, feel free to leave comments or send me messages or something as to what you think I could do better. And I will gladly take advice of anyone who's currently producing content. So please bear with me as I work to do a better job of creating these episodes and creating more listenable content for everyone. But for now, I hope you enjoy what I've created so far. And I hope to see you in the coming episodes. Thank you for listening.